All right, little dear one with satsang.
Men's violet crumbles now come in raspberry. Recommended for spiritual enlightenment.
I'll take two. One for this lifetime, one for the next.
All about, except Tina wasn't recording before. You missed the whole raspberry violet crumble. Oh, I didn't click. Got it.
Doesn't matter. It's already happening. So this is the beginning of the meeting, and I'm going to say this at the beginning and say at the end as well. If you have found any value, it will be helpful. Ideas are increased by sharing. To do just that, like, subscribe, share, and even leave a comment, even if it's just a heart. We would love to hear your heart, but a heart is helpful as well. So just like, subscribe, share, and leave a comment. And I'll say it again at the end.
Have you ever heard a heart through a and you put a thing on and you can hear the blood going? I don't want to hear people's hearts.
No, yeah, you do. Yeah, you do. The true heart, the true essence of their heart. I was thinking that I heard a heart. I was thinking that I heard a heart when I put my ear on it, but I don't hear the heart. I feel the heart. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's sort of what I wanted to talk about today too, was feeling stuff. I mean, I always talk about it, but anyway. So, all right, let's do a thing. What are we doing? Where's our book? I don't even have a 20-minute. You want to or not? I don't care.
I mean, it's the two of us. I'm happy to do whatever. I'm happy to do whatever.
We can talk about anything.
Well, you know, I was, we were talking about the lesson with the raspberry, and it kind of segued into.
What is that segued into?
It segued into, for in my mind,
a scooter thing.
Oh, that's a Segway. Segway, S-E. Oh, see, I'm going to spell it wrong and people are going to laugh at me. S-E-G-U-E, Seg.
Is that a dictionary?
Pretty sure. Segway, like ease into.
Is that a homegirl word?
Nope, not a homegirl word. Homegirl word would be, I don't know, I can't think of a word for Segway. Ease in. It's a regular word.
Drop in.
I have an update with my healing. Interesting, with the fighting with my friends. Which can segue into the fighting that I've been seeing that's been disturbing me. So with my friends, I told you, it was such a really beautiful healing, that whole thing with my friends fighting, and I felt like I made a clear distinction, and I knew that there was a perpetrator and there was a victim. So I knew I had made that distinction, but I could not. Wasn't until like conceptually, like I joined with one of my friends, and conceptually, like I understood, like that was my mirror. But it wasn't until we had that meeting where you were really uncompromising about it's, you know, like what is it that I was being reflected back, that I did not want to accept.
Right.
Because I'd gotten to a place.
Nobody ever wants to accept it.
Well, yeah, and I had gotten to a place in the inquiry where I went all the way down into it, and I was like, where it comes to, can you see the innocence, or can you see? And I was like, no, she's wrong, and I'm not that. And then when you were like, you look at it, and I could really see, and I knew it the whole time that it was arrogance. But once that started to, and I was just like, I really have to just accept this and really face it. There were all these other, it was like these layers that started to like come off, like shedding skin. And it just went to all these other things that I didn't even, I knew it.
Like a house of cards, it just starts to topple, just falls apart. Yep.
So that was really beautiful. And then I guess this was just a couple of weeks ago. I don't have the opportunity to meet my friends as often as I did before, but I saw my friends again, and I felt like they didn't know that she and I had a little thing, and I really wanted it to come up. I really wanted to be like, I'm on you guys' side now.
Oh, validation.
Yeah. So, and it did come up, and I made sure that they knew. And I was like, watching it, I was like, wow, I'm still valuing this attack. I'm still valuing seeing this
Yeah.
distinction. I'm still, but I, was doing it. But I prayed really. I went back and I was like, sincerely, like, okay, I still see it. I still see that I value it. And I really don't want to. So just allow my prayer to be sincere. So I really, really prayed about it. I'm saying all that to say, yesterday, that person that I thought was the victim or the perpetrator, she messaged me and apologized. And it felt like kind of like the rat thing. Like there was a confirmation, but I also noticed that wasn't enough. Even though in my inquiry, I was like, what do you really want her to have happen? I want her to apologize and see that she's been wrong, But when she did, it was like, I didn't really want to see her innocent. I still didn't want to. So I had to really kind of look at that. Like I still want to be superior somehow, or the victim somehow, or the right one somehow. I still want that. And I'm saying with concepts, the course, I don't want to show my brother. I don't know how it says it in the course, but I don't want my brother to feel guilty. How it says it in the course, the face of innocence, and then I don't want my brother to feel guilty. I don't want to show him that he's hurt me, basically. So I had to really, really be prayerful about it. And I saw like, okay, this is the opportunity. This is what I said that I want, but I really didn't want it. So let me be sincere about this and let me really, really heal it. So I didn't really respond until I could really sincerely offer up, like, it's good. Like, you're my sis. I love you. It's good. I'm not going to hold anything against the situation. And then she messaged me just now before the meeting and said some really beautiful stuff like, oh wow, da, 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 da. And I said to her, and it's not my forgiving you, like it's really me, like seeing myself, and you've just been really beautiful reflection of what I saw myself, and it's my forgiveness. This is all from my healing. So anyway, that's kind of how it seems now, and I don't feel completely honest, but I'm
Right.
willing. But I'm willing. I feel a willingness to.
You want to see that differently?
Yeah, I do.
What did you see when you looked in the mirror?
What did I see? All of it?
Keep it simple, just what it.
Well, arrogance and spiritual superiority.
You said victim and perpetrator.
Yeah,
right.
that was it right at the top. Yeah.
Right. Who was which? You
Well,
felt like the victim.
No, honestly, I was the neutral person, but I saw like outside of me, so I know that I'm both. Okay.
You're both, exactly.
Yeah. There was a point where I was, of course, I was the victim. I was the victim because I could not be completely honest and transparent, so I had to be the one, so it was all kind of put on me, like, this is always my role. I got to be the peacemaker. I got it out of it. So I was like using that to still be the victim.
And the perpetrator.
And the perpetrator.
You are the perpetrator. You're Absolutely. The one that asked her.
Absolutely. That's what I thought was kind of cool, because I saw it like in these two individuals initially. And it was like so clear, like these two individuals seemingly outside of myself. And it was like, no, it's both of those things. And it was such a conflict. I didn't want to face it. So, but no, I totally see that I am both. Even when I went to my friends and wanted them to know, like, I'm on your side now. Yeah, now we're against her. It was totally like this whole thing of justifying my anger or justifying, but now I'm gonna attack the seeming, you know what I mean? Like,
you want to see that? You want to see that differently, or you just want to keep jumping in?
Oh no, I want to see it differently. My fault, my bad. I do want to see it differently. Thank you.
The raspberry and honeycomb teaching. Apply it to the victim and the perpetrator.
Mm.
Do it now.
Okay. Yeah.
Bring them together.
Mm.
They're both representing an idea of separation. Neither of them are true or have any reality other than that which you've given them.
Mm.
Now, look at them both as your responsibility, both at the same time, and try to hold them both at the same time in your mind as closely as you can to each other. It's going to appear as if your mind wants to flip back between one idea and another idea being two ideas. But try to see them as one idea and hold them both there. Now invite the Holy Spirit in your heart. Help me to see this whole situation differently. There you go. Right. There's no room for the liar there. There's no room for the lack, for the doubt. How grateful are you for all those who play a part? And just stay there and let that happen. Just let it happen. Father, here I am. In cause and effect together. The thoughts in my mind and the images that appear outside are no different than all of the thoughts in my mind together. I'm not separate from what I see. Let it all go. Let it go. There's more. Go deeper. Just try to hold it. Just try to feel it until it's done. You'll know when it's done. It's the same as stepping into a circle. You'll feel a doneness. You'll feel a release when it's finished. Don't adjust. Let yourself feel. That's it. Good. Breathe. I wish you had have recorded that raspberry and honeycomb teaching now. All that emotionality that is being released, which has previously been attached to the story and the association of the story, which is your own idea of the belief in separation. That's what it is you're experiencing now as it comes up, as it's released. Seen rightly, it's a good thing. But until you value the goal more than you value death, you're going to lament it and you're going to feel emotional about it rather than be laughing at it. And you can't fake that. You don't get to the place where you value your salvation more than you value death simply by saying that you want to. It's a place you work your way through as you do the work, and you get to a place and you'd be like, you know. I remember there was a point in me where I didn't want anything other than God. Nothing. I was suicidal. I was done. And you don't have to be that, but I was totally done with it. And I didn't have an alternative. I didn't have the course. I was struggling out in my little cabin in the woods, and literally cabin in the woods. I was struggling to make any sense of my life at all. And when the course was given to me and when I had revelation and everything like that, when all of that happened, I realized that there was more to life than I was aware of. There was much more to life than I was aware of. And I remember making a decision in my mind that that's what I wanted, and only that do I want. I don't want anything else. And I've had my temptations. Don't you worry about it. I've had all sorts of women and offers and all sorts of things, all the good things of life that people think are the good things. But throughout, none of them have ever offered me anything quite like what I saw in the moment that I remembered my father. And it's that place, which is why Jesus says an experience is essential. It's that place that you're working yourself towards through doing these lessons to a point in your own mind where you become revelation ready, okay? Which is just beyond miracles, just beyond the need for miracles. You guys are still in this, you're still in the mind training phase, and you're still in that thing where you're learning to master the concepts through applying the principles, right? And you start to see what it is. Like you said, this is like the rats, very similar to the rats. And they're all going to be very similar to each other because it's the same confrontation every time in a different way. You're only learning one lesson and it shows up again and again and again. This time through people playing victim and perpetrator. Last time it was the rats, but you can understand it every time. And as your mind begins to awaken more and more, and you open to the glory of God more and more, and the greater awareness of your footprint, let's say, or the responsibility for your footprint in the world in every given situation, you become more sensitive to it. You start to pick up on it, which is why you said to me, I don't like to be in that room that you guys in, because those guys keep coming after you and calling you stuff and whatever. And it's like, that's great. I want them to do that, because I'm not resisting what's coming along anymore. I'm just playing a part where I'm just going to continue to poke at the beehive until all the bees come out and something changes, either in me or in the reflection of me, which is represented by those guys, But at the same time, it's like I'm aware that I have a responsibility to the footprint that I leave. And so it's like sometimes you just walk away. I used to see Ted do it all the time. Guys would come into session and he'd be presented with the situation through the story or actions of one of the students. And he'd be doing this. He'd be seeing it as his responsibility and just his own mind, the whole thing, the whole picturing, right? There's nothing separate. You're not separate from anything. I'm not separate from those guys in that room or any of the other guys that want to have a go, like it doesn't worry me at all. But for a second, it looks like you have to be not really the devil's advocate, but you have to deny the teachings and deny the principles in order to get a response. So you've got to act contrary to the way that people would expect you to act. Now, in the world, in your dreaming, people expect you to act like Tina. That's how they know you. This is Tina. She does this. She goes to there. She does these things. And she's this kind of a person, right? That's great. But what more does it add to you if you love only those people that love you back?
Right.
Right? And sometimes even those people that love you back, rather than sit in the comfort zone of that relationship, let's just throw a hot poker in there or a hot potato and see where the relationship is really at, right? Because I don't want to get comfortable. The last place I want is comfort. And it's like, I'm going to stand here and let everybody take a shot. You get that?
I do.
It's like Jesus. Jesus didn't have to go and get crucified. He could have chosen not to, but he knew he had to. He didn't have to go and front up to the temple and be tested, but he did. You know, he put himself deliberately in the firing line. He put himself deliberately on the spot so that his Father in heaven could sustain him and allow the presentation of the grace that he was representing to come through, so that perhaps they could hear it, but always so that he could make the demonstration of that presence within him. I'm generally not so successful.
Well, I'm just thinking, how do we, I mean, I just found myself like trying to find a concept to understand what's going on. You know what I mean? Just like grasping at concepts to try to understand what's happening. So without an experience, you know what I mean? What do we do?
Right. So ready? That's why you have the Holy Spirit. You can't understand the understandable. Trying to understand chaos is what chaos is. Right? Trying to understand insanity is insanity. So when you see stuff going on, it's like, I don't know what this is all about, right? That's the place I get to in my mind. I don't know what this is all about. I'm going to ask my Father, because he knows the big picture. I only know a little bit that I can see here. I don't know what the hell's going on in, you know. So I step back and I ask God, right, what's going on here? And I wait for a kind of a feeling or a response.
Yeah.
Right. You're learning to listen to another voice, to that quiet voice. That's what you're learning. Like in that situation with your friend, you learned it perfectly.
And it's happening right now.
Right. Of course it is. We're talking about it. How can it?
No, because even like right now, I want to defend,
right.
and not being able to defend. Oh,
that's it.
It's real.
Just stay there. Let it happen.
Oh.
It's always happening right now. It's raspberry and honeycomb all the time. All the time. I'm always looking at my raspberry and I'm always looking at my honeycomb. I think they're different things, but I'm just bringing them together to see they're the one thing. They're my denial. The place I go with it, and the place Ted used to go with it too, is like this. You go into this zone where you'll get someone that'll come in, or you'll be having a thing with, like that woman we were just talking about that's really solid, right? And it's like there's a recognition there that forget brotherhood in Christ, right? Here on the planet, that there's a recognition that here's somebody who's pursuing a very, very similar or perhaps the same doctrine or whatever as me, and I recognize a solidarity or a solidity in them or an association in them energetically, right? I recognize something in them. So Jesus says in the Course, you must believe in your brothers to whom you offer this teaching, right? I spend a lot of time just offering it willy-nilly to everybody and have it rejected and spat back in my face and all of that stuff. You must believe in your brothers who you offer this teaching to. Not all of them are ready for it. But sometimes you have this energetic recognition that, wow, there's something going on with this person. They're really solid. They're really grounded. They're open-minded, all of this sorts of thing. And in that recognition comes forth a kind of a calling or an offering or a thing where you want to join with that person to communicate in mind, because the miracle shows that minds are one. Okay? Whatever the physical effect of the miracle is, doesn't matter, physical healing or whatever. But the purpose of the miracle is to reveal that minds are one, to show you that minds are joined, right? And so there's this moment, there's this beautiful video. Annie used to have it with Ted and Dan Dean, this guy interviewing him. And it's been lost in the somewhere. And you could, when you watch the video, Dan Dean was playing the part of the interviewer, interviewing Ted about A Course in Miracles and all this sort of stuff. Ted kept going along with his interview and giving him a doorway through which to walk, but he couldn't hear it. He just couldn't. And all of us, when we're watching this video later, all of us are sitting there on the edge of our seats going, go Dan, waiting for him to suddenly just flip everything around and realize what was actually going on. The interview wasn't happening. That was an illusion. That's just form. What was actually going on was he was being offered an opportunity to accept his salvation through Ted. And it was the most beautiful thing. And in the end, he missed it. And we're all like, oh man, it was so close, right? And you have this, you have this moment where it's like I'm having with that group. There's one guy, Thomas, right? I don't know. Thomas has this thing. I recognize I don't care about Clinton and all those other guys. They can just fuck off, you know, like I'm not interested. But Thomas has this thing going on in him that every now and again, it'll just expand, like it's just about to pop and something else can happen. And I feel like I've got this pin in my hand. I just got to go in and poke him with it a bit. And if he doesn't defend himself, it's going to pop. But he always defends himself. And it's that same moment. There's this like, come on, I want to join with you, brother, here. And all we got to do is build up this pressure that's between us so it becomes completely obvious and then choose for something else to happen. Right? Because that building of the pressure is the same as bringing that raspberry honeycomb together. You try and bring it together. And it's like this thing in your mind where you just almost can't do it. And then the Holy Spirit enters in and bang, something else happens, right? Which is healing or the holy instant, whatever you want to call it. And so I go, like in that group, and it's just like, I'm looking for him. It's like where Jesus says, I'm aware of the revelation readiness of all my brothers. I'm aware there's something going on. He's not even aware of it. He has no clue. He's just there posting pictures and being his typical old doofus self. And like, just as I'm my typical doofus self, and we've got two doofus selves here meeting with all these principles, concepts, and ideas that are just coming together, seemingly clashing, seemingly against each other and playing this part of I'm right. No, I'm right. I'm right. No, I'm right. Right. And the whole thing's just a charade. But I know that there's a thing in him. It's like in my mind, if I drop the rope at my end, it's like it's just going to have to come all the way around again. If he drops the rope at his end, game over. Now, it's just energy. When you get to a certain point, it's like with you guys, sometimes I can just see where you're at in my own mind. I go, oh, just got to push that a little bit. And boom, there'll be a release again and again and again. It's not difficult. It's like the same as if you were to meet somebody for the first time who'd never heard of A Course in Miracles and you were to start telling them about it, you would start to pick up on their energy, on their vibration. It would change instantly. They're either going to want to run away from you, or which you will be able to tell, or they're going to want to know more, which you'll also be able to tell. You'll just pick up on the vibe. They'll be like hanging off, going, ooh, what are you talking? I've never heard this stuff before. You know, it's incredible. What do you mean it's just a dream? You know, and the opportunity will be there for you to be able to present something that is going to flick that switch and make that light bulb go on. Right? Now, you can only do that to a certain point. It's like Jesus says, the journey ends every time a brother is led. Every time a brother is led to the place where the journey ends, your obligation to that relationship is done. So I think that's how he puts it, but it's something like that.
We're both pretty bad at this.
Just rewrite the course. But it's something like that. You can only go so far with each brother. It's like there's not like you can take one brother on the entirety of their journey. I guess if you were stuck on a deserted tropical island together, you probably could. But in this world of distraction, there is a teacher here, a teacher there, and you have to get through this whole minefield of thinking that somebody is a teacher formally, so therefore that's where I need to go, rather than realizing the whole universe is teaching me all the time. You know, when you're open to that, like the raspberry and honeycomb,
Yeah.
the whole universe is teaching me. The whole universe is giving me an opportunity. But unless I know what the opportunity that the universe is trying to present to me is, I'm going to miss it every time. The universe is always trying to get me to join. And I can notify that. I can recognize that in my own mind by realizing where it is that I think my thoughts are separate from me.
All right, Dave, but then, okay. That seems obvious. But then
it is obvious.
Yeah.
It's so obvious you miss it.
But then when you say, like earlier, about blocking people, you know what I mean? Like
block them.
But, yeah, but isn't that missing? I mean, I feel like I still have triggers.
Right. Listen, there's no blueprint for this. There's no set rule. Okay, so there's just rules of thumb. Everything is always changing. You'll have people in your life that'll present the idea of a trigger to you. And if it keeps going, and you're so unwilling to ask for help, maybe you're just going to have to block that person until the orchestration of things in your life comes around in a certain way, and you've had enough experience that the next time that lesson shows up, you'll recognize it for what it actually is, and you'll be grateful.
I got it.
You know?
Yeah.
I block people all the time. I have people, you know, I blocked that Maureen Brown, or she blocked me, whatever. And I block all sorts of people. It's like you get to a point you realize you're just banging your head against a brick wall, you know. But sometimes people will just keep coming back and back and back and back and back, and they'll keep wanting to ask question without doing any work. It's like they're testing the waters. It's like, well, I'm not interested in allowing you to test the waters. You either jump in or don't jump in. That's it. If you make it obvious to me that you're not interested in jumping in, I'm going to call you out on it, you know, because I know fundamentally you don't want God. You don't want inner peace. You don't want universal love. You have to be tricked into it. The whole Course in Miracles is a trick. The ego loves it because it gets to play spiritual, and that's as high as it can get.
I feel like that's sort of what happened. And I can't really make any. I mean, I'm just thinking about the way things kind of went with my friend, because that was sort of what I said. Like, just stay there then. Like, if you want to be this, just stay there. And it was like my trigger. But until I got really honest about, I was spiritualizing and conceptualizing and not really honestly just like what was happening with me. And
exactly.
The opportunity for healing was available either way. Like, stay in it and say nothing, or say what you need to say. The opportunity is still there, like, for the healing. And that's sort of what I'm feeling like now. Like, I kind of can't get it wrong. It's like just a choice to whether heal or not, you know?
Right. You can't get it wrong, but you can delay.
Yes, exactly. And that's what was sort of hurting my heart. I was like, man, I know she's a direct reflection. And I know there's so many opportunities for me to heal with this, but I can't take this another day. And I have to say this. Anyway, and it turned out, anyway, the healing was still given, I think. And we're back together. And we're back together.
Right. Good.
To learn another day or to heal another day. We'll see. I mean, not we'll see. If I really want to let go of attack. If I really value the peace of God.
Right. But always come from the place, I don't want to let go of attack. Right? You're going to walk. You're going to work. Right. Exactly. You're going to walk into the very next situation with whoever, whatever, And you're going to be there with an attack mentality, right? Otherwise, you wouldn't be here in the world. You'd be done. You'd be enlightened. You'd be gone, right? I'm always walking through my karma, through my denial, through my dream. Whilst the dream exists, what is it that it's representing to me? Death. Whilst the dream exists and I still find myself in it, what is it that it's representing to me? Denial. Whilst the dream exists and I still find myself in it, what is it that it's representing to me? Separation from God. And that's where you have to stay. Every day I die daily. I die daily. I think it was John, the disciple, said that. I die daily. Maybe not John. Maybe. No, I'm pretty sure that one was John. I die daily.
Okay.
All right. So it's the same thing as saying, not a moment goes by that God's voice doesn't call upon my forgiveness to save me.
Yeah.
Exactly the thing, right? Wherever you go, whatever's going on, remember, just do this. Boop, finger on your nose. I'm going to my yoga class, I'm going to the supermarket, and I'm going to take responsibility for absolutely everything. Now, there's a thing. Right. There's always a thing. Right. There's a thing, not that you have to worry about it just yet, but one of the worst mistakes you can make in this is to assume or presume that everybody walking this planet is like you. There are guys on this planet who've reached enlightenment lifetimes ago that are here just helping out. And they're going to come in and out of your dreaming, in and out of your experience, and throw curveballs at you. It happens. Trust me, it happens. There'll be little old ladies, there'll be kids, there'll be whoever it is. And they'll represent the temptation to believe that you're somehow separate from the responsibility to taking atonement, to accepting atonement. Always come from the place of being the liar. You're safe there. I'm the Holy Son of God in eternity, but in this world, I'm the prodigal son. I'm the liar. I'm the denial. I'm all the shit. Like the sadhus. The sadhus will tell you, I am the shit that falls out of the ass of a snake. I'm the lowest of the low. I'm the servant of all mankind. Stay in that place. Don't try to step up from there. Then nothing can get from beneath you and pull out the rug. It may be humbling and it may be embarrassing. And that's where it's at. Yes, wow, thank you. I'm a servant. What does my brother ask of me? I say yes. The opportunities that are presented to me, I say, wow. The gratitude that I have for all things, because all things are the unraveling of my nightmare and the offering of my truth. Thank you. And it's just learning to remember that in every moment.
And if I can't do it, help.
Right, exactly. I can't do it, help. You got it. You got it. That's it. That's the only place you got to stay. You keep it as simple as that, you'll be right. You get all these coarse concepts and things in your head, and you'll be like trying to bat one against the other to see where it is you're at with things. It's like, well, am I grateful or am I not? Simple. Am I grateful or am I not grateful?
Yeah, and I can't be, so help. Yeah, and I can't be, so
right,
help.
exactly.
Yeah.
If I'm not truly grateful, and you know when you are or not, you know when you're just saying it, right? There's this bitter taste on the tongue when you're truly grateful.
Yeah. When I was sending a message last night, I was sending a message and I was saying what I knew I needed to say, and I prayed before because I wanted to, and I knew it was still like, okay, well, there's still some stuff here. There's still some stuff here. And I just felt like in my sending the message was just a willingness, but I don't know. I just need help.
Right. So now, just step back from thinking it's got anything to do with somebody else. Just step back from that. Don't send any more messages. None of that, unless something comes to you. But now just internalize it. Now just do it all inside.
Yeah.
Here I am, Lord. I see this. I see what's going on. I'm willing to take responsibility, or I'm willing to accept atonement at one meant for myself in this situation, and you heal it within yourself.
And that's what felt like was happening in the week that I had no contact, but it was still going in my mind.
Right.
So in that week or so where there was no like,
yeah.
And people were saying, do you want to reach? It's like, no, I don't really feel to. But I knew that there was still healing that needed to happen. So that just continued. And it was like, I wanted to share that with you. There was like this slight, like kind of awareness that there was really no one out there. Like it was, this is
good.
Just my mind, like just really slight. Like I couldn't quite, but there was like, oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah, you can't quite grasp it. You can't quite touch it.
Yeah, and then she comes back, and then now it's like, all right, so now there's something for me to do about,
All right, so I'm gonna give you an exercise. Was it nighttime over there, isn't it? Okay, I'm gonna give you an exercise to do tomorrow. You do it or don't do it, I don't care, but like go and sit on the front stoop of your apartment building there or whatever. Go and sit out the front. And like a mantra, just say to yourself over and over again, this is all a dream. Slowly and within yourself. This is all a dream. And just look around. If people come by who know you and say hi, don't even respond to them. Let there be that uncomfortable moment. Let it be there. If they get really insistent or something, then maybe, oh, sorry, I was just daydreaming, whatever. But just try it as an exercise. Don't respond. Why would you react at all to figures in a dream that you truly knew you were dreaming? Now, you don't truly know that you're dreaming, but you're becoming like prepared, or you're becoming revelation ready. And so you're putting yourself into you're deliberately choosing to put yourself into a predicament or a situation where you're going to use that situation for your salvation, right? So tomorrow, sit on the front step, whatever, watch the world go by for about an hour, all right? If you can find an hour in the day spare, for about an hour. And just consciously in your mind, this is all a dream, and look around, up and down, and just keep saying it. Try not to let other thoughts come in. And
I'll start tonight.
No, follow the instructions.
Okay. Oh man, I want to start tonight. Okay. All right.
Everything's about instructions. Follow the guidance given, not the guidance as you think you want it to be. Right?
Okay.
So, and then when you've done that for about an hour, you should have probably repeated the thing like 200 or 300 times. When you've done that for about an hour, step back in your own mind and be the observer of your state. Try to step back and behind yourself and picture yourself or see yourself sitting there doing that exercise. And see what your state is, your state of mind, how you feel, right? Try to tune in to how you feel after doing that exercise. You should notice this subtle frequency that seems to be prevailing there and seems to be calling you. If you do it properly, you'll notice this vibration, this kind of like, and you'll be like you just said before, you kind of can't quite grab it. You can reach out, but you can't quite put your finger on it, right? It's subtle. That subtle thing that you will feel is what I'm trying to get you guys to get in touch with all the time as an energetic presence within you, right? And we'll call it the call of God, the call for love, whatever you want to call that. It's subtle. It's a still, small voice. It's a very quiet and small voice. You're listening to it in your meditations. You're trying to tune into it through your feelings and your senses. Like everything is being realigned to try to, like a radar dish, right? Everything in you is being realigned to try and pick up that signal. but it's subtle. It's like it's coming from far, far away, but it's actually closer than your next heartbeat. Okay. That's the exercise I want you to do tomorrow. And maybe the day after, and maybe the day after that. One of the things I do sometimes, not really lately, because I don't feel a need for it or anything. I'll go down to the beach and I'll go right to the end where I used to make my videos, and I'll sit there and I'll look around. I'll do that exact same thing. There is no world. There is no world. There is no world. And I'll repeat exactly the same mantra over and over again. The same line. There is no world. There is no world. There is no world. And by the time you get to about 50 or 60 repetitions, you'll notice a kind of a groundedness. You sort of stop thinking about how it is you're doing it, and you just start doing it. And there's this kind of dropping in, or this kind of feeling of a shift in consciousness. There's a kind of a movement that takes place in your association, and you just become this kind of like autonomous thing that's just repeating these mantra again and again and again, and no exterior thoughts come in. And it's just this boom, 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 like a vibration resonating in you. And you start to feel a difference. Right? That feeling, that difference that you feel between when you start and where it kicks in somewhere in that thing, that's what you're looking for. All right. So when I meditate, here's another way to look at it. When I meditate, which I generally don't do anymore because my mind just opens like that. But when I meditate, or when I used to meditate, let me put it that way. When I used to meditate, sometimes I'd sit for an hour, sometimes half an hour or whatever it took. Sometimes I'd become distracted and I'd give up, but at a certain point in your meditation, there becomes this dropping away of the awareness of the physical shell, the physical body, the physical surroundings and everything. And the focus sort of flips over and just becomes completely internalized. You realize you're not hearing the noises out there anymore because they're actually going on in your head. There's this kind of like, well, there is nothing out there happening. It's all happening in here. And you just kind of, and you can't explain how that happens. It just sort of happens. You're listening, and then all of a sudden it's like, just crosses over. And the next thing you know, it's like you fall asleep at night. You don't know when you fall asleep. You're just awake. And the next minute you're waking up again in the morning. You don't know where that crossover point is. It's the same thing in meditation. Yeah. Right. It's exactly the same in meditation. And you try to focus on the now. You're sitting there and you're like, whatever it is you're doing is a mantra, or perhaps you're just in perfect silence with no thought, which is beautiful. And you're just holding yourself in that state of presence, that I am. Right? And then at some point, it just sort of flips over. Right? Now, when you stop examining that point where it flips over, when you stop trying to identify that point where it flips over, what happens is your mind just releases into the light directly, and you have a light experience. So like last night, I went to bed, and I'm laying there, and I'm like, I haven't prayed, I haven't done anything for ages. I'll just sort of like talk to my Father. And as soon as I sort of let go, bang, my whole interior consciousness just erupted into light, just like this massive flash, like a big cannon had gone off in the distance, and I could see the flash of it just went across my consciousness. And then I fell asleep after that. That happens every time that I still my mind, every single time. Those experiences of light are accumulative. They add up and they give witness. They're impossible to deny. I can't deny them. I wouldn't even want to try to deny them. But I know that at some point earlier on, when I would meditate, there would be nothing but this pitch black kind of internal sense of myself. It's like, what do you mean there's light in here? There's nothing. I don't see any light. There's no, but now there's actual light, like there's a little man in the fridge shining a torch somewhere through the back of my head going, pow, open the door. exactly what it is. Knock and the door shall be open. But the door gets open and bang, there's a flashlight and woohoo, you know. Yeah, it's like a big whoosh, and you can't describe it. Right? But that's where you're headed towards. All of the things you're doing, the confrontation within yourself about your friends and the situations, which involves the mind training and the purification process, the part where you go into meditation, the prayer, all of these things are like individual but associated parts of your awakening, right? And you're learning to master them in a way where you're no longer seeing them as separate things. They just kind of flow together in a kind of a higgledy-piggledy way, and you stop trying to work out how they flow together. You realize I can't work this out. It's impossible. I don't know how this works. I know what forgiveness means now, and I can apply that. I've got a bit better idea how I meditate. Every time I try it, I seem to have a different result or a better result, or maybe no result, whatever. Maybe I need to work on that. And I'm starting to see that half of my prayers are just lip service. These are all good things, right? All of these things go together little by little by little. And then the next time the lesson comes around for you, that orchestration, you've been practicing all this stuff and you can put your finger on it, right? You'll be able to go, I see what that is now, clearly. Whereas previously, it'd be like, oh, it's just out of reach. I can almost touch it. What is it? Right? So don't worry about it. You can't fuck it up. The fix is in. Just keep on with what you're doing. Keep doing your lessons if you're doing the lessons. Keep doing Zoom meetings or going to other meetings or doing anything in your own mind that to you is synonymous with awakening and spirituality and salvation, all those things. It's all helpful, right? When you start to see that it's not helpful, it'll just fall away and then the next thing can start, whatever that is, right? So don't worry about blocking people. If you got to block people, it's because, all right, well, that's no longer.
Yeah.
You know?
And if I got to speak if I got to speak what seemingly
right.
is my truth.
It's like Jesus. Jesus is walking over the hills and there's 10,000 people following him, and he turns around and essentially blocks them. He turns around and says, go back to your homes. You don't want what I'm teaching. You want the fish, the bread, and the miracles, right? That's the biggest block in history, I think. God knows how many miles they've followed him already.
Unfriend you.
Right. I'm unfriending you all. Fuck
Jesus
off.
unfriended me.
Right. Exactly. But he knew there's no point. They weren't in it for the same reason he's in it. And part of the discipline or part of the coming to greater awareness of yourself, I guess, in this is in those moments where you see you're not in it for the same reason Jesus is in it. Right? Now, Jesus says, I'll tell you why I'm in this. I'm here to collapse the time of all things visible, to end the time of suffering. Right? Now, I'm here to collapse the time of all things visible. People, cars, mountains, trees, fish, dogs, animals, relationships, lovers, all of that. It's going. It's like, what is it? Shiva the Destroyer. Time and space, we're erasing it. We're erasing the whole thing so that no one else has to come in and have this experience, right? But I know perfectly well that there's a lot of people out there, reflections of my old thinking, let's say, who still think that Jesus came to make heaven on earth and make a better life for them on earth, that was his purpose. It's like, that may happen, right? As you forgive, obviously, things are going to improve in your own particular circumstances. But as you get further and further in your transformation, you start to realize that, hang on a minute, this goes way beyond forgiveness. We're talking about the elimination of time and space in its entirety. We're talking about no more parties, no more alcohol, no more yeehaw, no more nothing. Just like, let's be done with it. Let's turn the off switch and everybody's gone, you know? Now, you got to be in it for that. If you've got children and you've got hopes and dreams still for them and other things like that, you're not going to want to be in it for that. You're going to have secret hopes, secret agendas, secret desires. There's only one agenda. to end the time of all things visible. Luckily, my father's house has many mansions. There are many, many other experiences within the framework of form and also formlessness that you can have other than this one. This one is the only one where you can suffer because you believe in it. In the next, if you want to call, you know how people always going on about, oh, we're the ninth dimension or whatever, all of that crap. It's like, all right.
Third.
So when you lay this vessel down, right? When you lay this vessel down, you're living in the resurrection. The bardo, which used to be a revolving door and you'd come back into the original enlightenment, it doesn't work that way anymore. You can pursue your purification here on planet Earth, or you can pursue it in the bardo. You can pursue it even beyond the bardo in one of the waiting worlds or the Morantia worlds that are waiting there for, you know, because salvation has happened. You're still going to have to pursue it until time and space is done in its entirety, because we're all connected here. We're all one. But you don't necessarily have.
I mean, I'm hearing it now.
Right, exactly.
I'm hearing it now.
Yeah. It's part of your script to hear it.
But the desire is stronger in this one because there's so much suffering. In the other, doesn't matter. This is where I find myself.
In the other, it's more clinical. Here it seems to be more happens chance, which gives you the illusion of free will and the illusion of choice. But really, there isn't really a choice.
No.
If you're in the bardo and you're beyond the physical, you can still make those choices. The motivation just isn't. The motivation to make those choices isn't presented, however, through the catalysts of cause and effect relationships. It's more like sitting an exam. Yeah. It's more like choice. Do you choose this or do you choose this? Do you choose it? It's like, oh, you know, but on Earth, you get that multiple choice through the interaction in relationships. You don't realize it because you would see it as an affront to your autonomy and your ego would reject it.
Yes.
But when you have no body, what's to reject? The world only seems real because you associate with the body.
Yes.
You can't fuck it up. Ted used to say the fix is in. The fix is in. Just get on with it. You know, don't get comfortable. Get out of your comfort zone. Let the world affect you and have an experience. Let it all fall into a heap. Stop trying to hold it all together. It's just a dream. Right, exactly.
Daily.
Right, daily. But once you know that that's your purpose daily, you'll be okay with it when it happens. It's only when you forget that it's your purpose that you tend to get defensive. It's like, oh, hang on a minute. Someone's going to hang shit on me today, and I'm probably going to want to defend myself. But if I don't defend myself and I include it in, I'm going to feel all the emotionality of that non-defense that wants to rise up and go, no, it's you. I'm going to feel all that come up, and I can give that to the Holy Spirit for healing.
Yeah.
But if I do defend myself, I'm going to use all that energy myself and doubly condemn myself and my brother to have to go around all the way again for it to play out again. You know, which is what was going on in that group where I was making Thomas that offering without actually making an offering. I remember, I can't remember who it was. I think it was my friend Josie. I went out with Josie for a while. She's an Italian woman, but her brother, he was a pretty cool guy. I can't remember his name. Rupert, I think. Rupee. But anyway, Rupee came up to me one day. I didn't really know him, but I'd been having trouble with some stuff, and he must have picked up on it through talks with other brothers and whatever. And he came up and very kindly offered to counsel me on something that he was spot on. I was going through it. I couldn't put my finger on it. I couldn't really see where I was at with this particular thing. And I couldn't tell you what it was now because it's done, it's healed. But I remember him coming up, and he made every effort to present to me a way that I could see the situation from my own side of things, but inclusive of everything else. You know, it's like including everybody in. And I'd always, prior to that, had this idea of, well, there's a me and a you, like a me and a Thomas, or like a you and your friend, all of that sort of thing, right? But every interaction has its own lesson. Every interaction has its own presentation and its own orchestration and everything. And when you step back, when you pick up on the vibration and you step back, you can ask within, what's this for? What am I learning here? What am I seeing in my mirror? What's going on here? Rather than trying to work it out with a whole load of course bullshit, right? All the course stuff only gets you to learn to become dependent on the Holy Spirit, not on the course.
But it also, I mean, I just really feel the defense in that, like that it's going to keep me safe somehow. You know what I mean? Like not
Exactly.
me, but like Tina's going to be safe. But now it's spiritual Tina, because I'm like this and not ever being affected by what I'm being presented with in the moment. It's like, and there's this concept, and there's this
exactly.
Concept.
Well, they call that spiritual bypassing or something nowadays. Everyone likes to give every.
It's so convoluted, though. It's very, very hard to.
I know.
Oh, there's Heidi.
I know.
Aww.
I used to do it all the time. Oh, there's Heidi. Hey, Heidi. I saw you on a boat.
Oh, wait, I'm on mute. Yeah.
I saw a picture of you were on a. I don't know why I was sent the photo, but I was told that I would enjoy the photo of you on the boat, and I did.
Well,
you look very happy.
You have it. I was right.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, what's this photo of Heidi? She looks like she's on a boat, and then you sent me the thing going, "Hey, hope you enjoy this photo of Heidi on the boat."
I was on my paddleboard.
Oh, is that what it was?
Not a boat, really. But I mean,
it's a better title though. Heidi on the boat.
Yeah.
Heidi on a paddleboard.
There could be a teaching.
Easier. A lot less letters.
Yeah.
I'm prone to stories.
Anyway, so that's that, Tina. That's is that all good?
Yeah, perfect.
Good.
Yeah. Wish you could circle back and tell the actual, but it's not necessary.
The raspberry.
Yeah.
I have to,
but I think it all makes
Heidi.
sense.
I've hidden them behind my computer. So I wouldn't. I've eaten nearly all of them, but like violet crumble.
My reaction.
Is it the cotton candy?
Yeah, they're raspberry chocolate.
Okay.
With honeycomb. I'm not going to tell the teaching. You can do it, Tina.
I love Australian candies. They're the best.
It's so good.
That is called violet. It's just like throwing me so off.
Dentist.
It's a color, not a flavor, but a color.
And I've tried some American candies, and they're really bad. I don't like to be rude. They're really bad. They're just
really,
really. Do you guys have Tim Tams over there? I don't think you do.
No, you mentioned Tim Tams before.
In the specialty shops, we do.
Oh, you know about Tim Tams?
Yeah.
Oh, my fault. My bad.
All right, get some Tim Tams. Get some Tim Tams, and you'll instantly see what I'm talking about. All of our like Tim Tams, but different.
Andy was trying to get me to go to Skid Row and do the sausage pie or whatever. What is it that you guys do?
Sausage pie?
Some kind of pie, Aussie pies.
Meat pie?
Maybe, yeah. I guess the famous guy here.
Meat pie's like our national dish, and it's disgusting.
Yeah, I wasn't really. I mean, but she told me while it was happening, I couldn't get away. Skid Row's not far from me.
Meat with this kind of liquid jello stuff in it, and it's like you bite into it and it all runs out, and it's pastry that's thin. I don't like them. I mean, I've eaten them plenty, but everyone in this country, every bakery we have the best pies, you know.
Yeah.
And they're all pretty much identical. But there is a pub. There's a pub up the road from us, a bar up the road from us that make their own pies called Pinnacle Pub, and they make really good pies, like big chunky bits of meat and vegetables in there, and then thick pastry and big high top. You know, and it's like something out of Hansel and Gretel.
Like a pot pie.
Yeah. Those
Kind
pot pie.
of, yeah, like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But mincing that meat,
Yeah,
gelatinous
really good.
stuff in it doesn't sound delicious to me at all.
No,
We just
it's
had a pie
disgusting.
shop move into town, and it's not just like sweet pies, it's meat pies.
I'm not into that.
Yeah,
Not into
is
meat
it good?
pie.
I haven't been there yet. It's only like, I mean, we have like a 4-block row of city. So
You're in a very small town. How many people?
and then we have this
town,
meat,
Heidi?
we have this meat, it's called the pie dive.
Pie dive.
Yeah, instead of the high dive. There's a person like diving.
I get it.
Oh,
I think-
I know.
Ooh. They want me to come do a little
That's
writing
really
for them.
cheesy.
Let me come up with a
I
little,
know.
yeah. Give them
It's
my
not
number.
great.
for
Not
my
great
services.
advertising. Yeah. So. All right. Well, what's been going on, Heidi? You been having fun?
I have been actually. This week has been quite light. I wanted to say delightful, but
Mm.
I don't feel like I can go that far. But I had a huge, I don't even know how to describe it. And it started last Friday night, and I joined with Tina. Like, we had an amazing, like a incredible joining where like I feel like I just came into like a head-on collision with my guilt. Like just
Oh.
ugh, like neck breaking. Like I don't, honestly, my neck has been hurting for like the last week, and all this, I just realized that might be what it was.
Right. It's all energy.
Heavy. I don't, it was just this weird, well, not weird, it just, the more I was willing to face it, the more it was coming up. And I had the beautiful opportunity to just sort of just kind of break the shell, I think was what happened last week with you, Tina, which was so beautiful. And it was the first night I slept without anxiety. That next day, I got in this big fight with my boyfriend. I got this, like, all these things kept happening. And so this is on Saturday. And so I went to Circle with Donna. Do you remember Donna from when we first, and so she leads this, like, one of the Choose Again circles. So I went with her, I went to that group, and we did a process because I was just so upset with this like situation happening in my relationship, and the feeling that I'm responsible for other people's feelings, But what came up was just guilt. And then I got a call from a person in the group basically calling me out on doing something that I, like talking about something that I shouldn't have talked, like they didn't want me to talk about something. And it was like, it dug into that heavy, I lost it. Like, it was like I thought I'd gone through this process, and then I thought I'd gotten through the process again, and then immediately I just poured right into my soul. Like, I'm like, I am the biggest piece of shit in the whole world. Like, it was the worst. Oh, and
That's
it was
the
so
best.
because it was with Donna, because it was Donna that had called me, right? And so, and it was so
Right.
she's like, do you want to get back on Zoom right now? Let's do that. Let's talk. Because I'm like hyperventilating. I can't even. And we didn't like, and we didn't even like do like the 6-step process that we do in art. We just joined. Oh, and there was such a, I can't even explain the sense of release from my own mind. Like, I let myself off the hook for like, it was.
You said, fuck it.
Yeah. It kind of, yeah. I'm like, I keep trying so hard. I catch myself in this space of like, I'm trying to like get somewhere or do something. And there was just like the bubble popped. It wasn't even like, I just stopped and I was able to breathe. And the whole thing that's been coming up, like lately, I've been, hearing a lot about like contrast learning and joining. I think what it was is I got to actually experience what it means to join with other people to join with my brother in seeing beyond the problem and to see who I am in spirit and to make that commitment to see everyone in that light, I'm like, my resistance to it is I'm understanding the point.
Right.
Because I'm seeing that the truth of it, it's so worth it.
Yep. That's good.
That's it. That's been my week. So
That's
I
good.
just kind of let it go. And I stopped like thinking I had to do everything or so much. And
It's in the letting go. It all happens in the letting go. You got to realize that you're hanging on though before you can let go. You got to realize that you're doing it to yourself. Every relationship you're in, every situation you find yourself in, I'm responsible for this. I'm the one doing it. And you see your own behaviors and your own thoughts played out there, and you take responsibility for them. That'll bring up all your guilt. It'll bring up all whatever it brings up, whatever that lesson is that you're learning at that time, just so that you can give it to the spirit. So you can let it go. Here, Father, take this. Take this. And you join with your brothers in that. It's like two minds that join in a single decision. It's like, I choose to let go. You're going to join me in that? It's like two dogs pulling on a rope. It's nice. One of my favorite teachers was this guy called Willem, and he was the master of fuck it. Because in AA they always teach put it in the fuck it bucket. You realize you can't do anything about it. I can't fix this. I can't work it out. I can't do anything about it. I just got to let it go. Fuck it. And the place where that desire or that willingness to let it go, and the place where you actually let it go, they come together and whoop, that's where you join. Let's do some joining. Keen. Father, into thy hands I commend my spirit. I would give you my dreams. I don't want any of them. I would have what you would have me have instead. Just a love and peace. I'm willing to let go. I'm willing to give my life and will to you, through the Holy Spirit. I'm willing to say yes to love. You feel it. Just try to reach in and feel the integrity of that. Where am I at with it? It's often easier when everything's coming up and when the emotions are there. When you catch yourself in the moment, the prayer of the heart is always full. Everything's like a practice, but you see it in the moment. You see it in the moment where I want to love, I want to feel, I want to be happy. I'd rather be happy than right. Everything else, I don't care. I'm willing to accept God's will. Breathe. Minds are joined. It's not like when I still my mind that I'm looking for something, where is it that it's joined, or how is it that it's joined? Minds are joined. I'm not separate from the place, or not separate from what it is that I'm looking for or looking at. I am that joining. I am that inner connection. The idea of it is the action of it, or the idea of it is the participation with it. Minds are joined. You've got to want it and you've got to ask for it. You got to be willing to let go of everything else. The story that's running, all those thoughts in the mind about this or about that. This moment's a new moment, perfect unto itself. Focus. Every time a thought comes up about what I think it ought to look like, how I think something should occur, let it go. Just keep letting go, letting go, letting go. Try to stay in that silent place, that empty place, the waiting place. Imagine sitting for 40 days in the desert in a circle. Even doing Vipassana and things like that, you got to sit for 5 or 10 days. Ah. Uh, uh. Good. Focus. Uh. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Good. Hmm. One of the lines I really love when we read our 20-minute book. It's that one that I feel the stirring of his strength in me, and I begin to remember I love I chose to forget, but which has not forgotten me. And the stirring of his strength, when it says, I feel the stirring of his strength in me, it's like, that's a real thing. Like there's a tingling, you ever breathe and you breathe it in and you breathe it out when you're meditating and you feel this like tingling. I feel this sort of inner, like something alive in there. It's not my own being. It's like something else that just tingles. All my cells tingle and everything tingles. And there's just this presence. There's this something. When I'm listening in the quiet, listening into my meditation, when my mind is still, there's a feeling of that. There's a feeling of remembering the love I chose to forget. It's like you can almost touch it. You can almost hold it in your hand. And not feeling it, not feeling the stirring of that strength. It really sucks. It digs in, like it really, really gets in my heart and really, really gets, you can feel it in your back, like energetically. And you got to want to let go. You got to want to let go of everything that interferes with it. Uncovering that guilt, taking responsibility for your denial, all of that stuff. It's perfect that you had that thing with your boyfriend. It's just like throwing more fuel on the fire. You start to see the orchestration. Oh my God, somebody rang me and somebody provoked me and somebody did this and somebody did that. Because you've been working with the principles and the ideas, you recognize the hand of salvation, you recognize the call, you recognize, whereas at one point you probably would have said, oh no, I'm okay, I'll be all right. It's like admitting to your pain it's like, that's honest. Beautiful. Restores the mind to peace, restores the mind to quiet. I was going to read this wee bit out of the Urtext, which is channeled to Helen. Actually, it's even got a date here, 27th of November. I don't know what year, but And it goes to what we were just talking about, Tina, about always come from the place of being the liar, always come from the place of not knowing, and always come from that open place of being willing to learn and all those sorts of things. Saturday, 11/27. Most of the abilities man now possesses are only shadows of his real strengths. The soul knows, loves, and creates. These are its unequivocal functions. All of the functions of man are equivocal. All of the functions. You know that? I die daily. It's like always greet the day with I am the liar, I'm the problem, I'm the denial, I'm all those things, and let the Holy Spirit be right about everything else. Right? All of the functions of man are equivocal or open to question or doubt. All of the functions of man are equivocal or open to question or doubt. This is because he can no longer be certain how he will use them. He is therefore incapable of knowledge because he is uncertain. He is also incapable of true loving because he can perceive lovelessly. He cannot create surely because perception deceives and illusions are not pure. Perception did not exist until the separation had introduced degrees, aspects, and intervals. The soul has no levels, and all conflict arises from the concept of levels. Wars arise when some regard others as if they were on a different level. All interpersonal conflicts arise from this fallacy. Only the levels of the Trinity are capable of unity. Only the levels of the Trinity are capable of unity. The levels which man created by the separation are disastrous. They cannot but conflict. This is because one is essentially meaningless to another. Sigmund Freud realized this perfectly, and that is why he conceived as forever irreconcilable the different levels of his psyche. They were conflict prone by definition because they wanted different things and obeyed different principles. In our picture of the psyche, there is an unconscious level which properly consists only of the miracle ability and should be under my direction, and a conscious level which perceives or is aware of impulses from both the unconscious and the superconscious. These are the sources of the impulses it receives. Consciousness is thus the level of perception, but not of knowledge. Again, to perceive is not to know. In this connection, Casey is more accurate than Freud. Consciousness was the first split that man introduced into himself. Consciousness was the first split that man introduced into himself. He became a perceiver rather than a creator in the true sense. Consciousness is correctly identified. Listen to this bit. Consciousness is correctly identified as the domain of the ego. Consciousness is correctly identified as the domain of the ego. Jung was right indeed in insisting that the ego is not the self, and that the self should be regarded as an achievement. he did not recognize, a term we now understand, that the achievement was God's. In a sense, the ego was a man-made attempt to perceive himself as he wished rather than as he is. This is an example of the creator confusion we spoke of before. He can only know himself as he is because that is all he can be sure of. Everything else is open to question. So it's like all of my ideas, all of my best thinking, all of my spiritual thinking, all of my coarse thinking. If I'm walking out there in the world with it and thinking that I'm going to use it as a reference to navigate through my day, I'm screwed. All the Course is telling me is that I don't know. I got no idea. How do I know what this situation's for or what that situation's for? But as I start to take on board the particulars of my purpose, I begin to see my purpose reflected in those situations, even though I may not clearly grasp how it is that my part that gets played out in the situation is to come about. Right? Because all of my thinking and all of my actions and all of my abilities are ambiguous. I can't trust myself. Basically, it's the bottom line. I can't trust myself in any given situation. I'm learning to become dependent on God in everything, not just the things that I think I suck at, but literally in everything, even when I'm happy. What I think happiness is, it's like what I think happiness is. How do I know what happiness is? It's ambiguous. All of my abilities to perceive myself as happy or my brothers as happy, it's all questionable and open to doubt. And so I can't trust anything. The entire illusion is a dream. The world that's in entirety is an illusion. All consciousness, like it just read in there, all of consciousness is the domain of the ego. And that's how you can't fuck it up. That's how you can't get it wrong. I'm going to be led into one situation after another, after another, after another. It's like, let me get out of my comfort zone. If I get out of my comfort zone, I can see where my fears really are. My fears are useful to me. I want to find my fears. I want to find my guilt so I can hand it over, so I can give it up. Take this. Here, Lord, take this. I'm done with it. I've had enough. Can't do this anymore. And there's a threshold moment in all of it. Whatever the particulars are, whether you're looking at your guilt, your anger, your jealousy, all those 7 deadly sins, all those sorts of things, doesn't matter what you're looking at, doesn't matter what the particular arrangement of the lesson you're learning is at the time, you're learning to become completely dependent on God. So I need help with this. If you can see that from the get-go, you'll be right. Otherwise, you're going to find yourself in a tizzy somewhere, not knowing what to do with anything. But even then, God's got your back. There's still nothing to worry about. You just got to ask for help. Doesn't matter where you go, what you do, how much trouble you get into, how many people want to call your names. You're entitled to miracles. Just got to ask.
But I get it's not asking for help to make my situation better, right?
Right, exactly.
That's where I'm.
Yeah.
I keep getting myself into this like where I think I'm getting it and then I don't, and I'm like, oh, I'm still
Right.
trying to dream better.
Yeah.
I want to help in a shift in my perception.
That's right. You're dealing with a belief in separation, not a situation out there.
Yeah.
Somewhere I'm harboring or hiding a belief in separation in my mind that is manifesting as a situation that's causing me an upset. The situation isn't causing me an upset. My perception of it is. Because I've forgotten that I'm a child of God. I've forgotten that I'm eternal. Help me to let go of this, and I'll be able to remember
Right.
the truth. It gets a bit sticky. It's like you have to have like an ongoing, like Jesus says in the Course, in the beginning, you want those shifts to happen repetitively and fast. You don't want to drag them out too long, because your ego will get in and corrupt it, and you'll sort of forget about how good it was to have that last shift and how it happened and how the state of mind you're in, and it'll sort of the waters get muddied, you know. So if you have boom, boom, one after the other, after the other, after the other, it's like, man, I can't escape my own thinking. I'm seeing it everywhere I go. Boom, boom, boom. You're building up that ongoing witness to the idea that it is possible for you to change. Not change in reality because you're changeless, but change your perception about what you think reality is here. And everything then begins to speak for the eternal, begins to speak for God, for healing and for love and all of these sorts of things. Peace. How's your boyfriend now?
Yeah, no, this is the craziest thing, is that I was honest. I'm like, it was at a point where he was like, I'm not even coming over this weekend. I just need to take some time. Like, I don't, I got to let this all go. I don't know what's happening, whatever. And that same night, because he works until like 3 a.m. and he usually comes over after that. Anyways, he showed up. And the first thing he said was, I realized that you're not responsible for my feelings. I don't want to put you in that position. And we never talked about this. I didn't talk to him about my process at Circle. I didn't talk to him about, the last thing I'd said was like, whatever I can do to make you happy is basically was the last thing I said. I'm sorry I did that wrong, I was just, that's that one mind. I was completely shown that one mind of like, I took that situation. I saw it in me, and I saw it in where I've been holding on, and I've been playing the scenario over and over and over in my life. Like, God, forgive me for believing this and for using this. And it was crazy that he used those words.
It's just you.
Yeah.
There's Heidi talking to Heidi using those words. So this is my mind reflecting back to me an idea of healing. I call it a boyfriend, but it's really God showing up as a boyfriend, God appearing as Heidi.
Mm-hmm.
This whole thing that we call salvation or reassociation or healing or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. He's like, I won't have you. I'm not going to, he said, I'm not going to hold you up to this. I'm not going to hold you up to that anymore.
Yeah.
And like, it just seems like, I don't know. It didn't seem like.
You're off the hook.
I know, right? It was so.
You don't have to beat yourself up about it anymore.
Yeah.
You let go of that guilt and it's done.
Hmm.
It's only when you realize the guilt and don't accept that you actually want the guilt, that's why it's there. And when you realize the guilt and don't accept that you want it, that you can't do anything with it. It's like it's a secret game when you play with yourself. It's like, oh, I see, I can identify guilt in me around this situation, but it's like, I don't want the guilt. And you say, I don't want it, I don't want it. But before you can let it go, you have to admit to yourself, well, it's there because I do want it. I don't have peace because I'm trying to get rid of it. It's the same thing. It's all the one thing going on. It's an action of mind. It's either retaining or deliberately maintaining the idea in the dream of separation, or deliberately making a choice to let it go. But each one of that, Ted used to say, it's like it happens. The ego is suspicious, vicious, cunning, and baffling. And you can't really work it out. But it's like, well, I've chosen for this. Whatever I'm experiencing, I've chosen it. I've decided on it. You know, I think it's like on the back of the white edition here. I'm responsible for what I see. I choose the feelings I experience, and I decide upon the goal I would achieve. And everything that seems to happen to me, I ask for and receive as I have asked. I'm never a victim. I'm never a victim. Never. Whether it's a bad relationship, whether it's cancer, whether it's a road accident. I wrote this into my script so I could hold it against God, so I could be guilty of something. I did this. I think I did this. I think I attacked the throne of creation. I've convinced myself. I had this funny thing the other day. Well, I guess, I don't know what's funny in this energy. Everything's kind of freaking funny, but I had this funny thing the other day where I was sitting with this idea that I had at one point prior to time and space, let's say, I had convinced myself that I was separate from God. Somehow I'd listened to enough of the ego that I'd become convinced in my own mind that I was not God's son, that I was separate from creation and all of these things, and I didn't know where I was or what was going on, right? There was an awareness in my mind where I became aware of that. And it's like, wow, I convinced myself I was separate. And the flip of that, which is why I realized it, was it suddenly dawned on me that through the transformation, I had now reached a place, I guess, or an awareness, or I don't know how to describe it, but where I had equally, in the opposite, convinced myself that I wasn't separate, that I was actually one with my Father. It was beyond the mind training. It was beyond the course. It was beyond everything. It was like, wow, I see that I've successfully convinced myself or overridden that old belief. I now believe as things are again, you know. I don't really know how to talk about it, but it was just like this nice, like there's a point in your mind. There's a point where consciousness can't go beyond. And the purpose of the world is to distract you from that point. And the purpose of mind training, meditation, everything is to bring you into an alignment with it. It's like a pinpoint in the whole universe. There's one tiny thing, you know, and it's just like called truth. And you just want to stay there, but the world is just like yakety, 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 yak, and you want to go out and feel like you need to defend yourself or say things or fix things or people or situations. And it's just like, man, this is hard work. This whole freaking world is hard work. Let me just stay with the truth, right? And you realize, what does it matter if I just stay there in that one singular place? Because that one singular place that I'm staying there is the same as all of the seemingly separate different places that I could be out in the world with my temporal ideas. Because they're not separate ideas, they're actually one idea. They all represent the belief in separation. But there seems to be this thing where I'm addicted to looking into the ideas of separation, to look for the truth there, to look for the truth beyond those things. There is no truth beyond the things. The truth is in me. It's like when I see that truth in me, or I see that truth in my brother, I know that it's the same truth. And then the mind training, of course, you train yourself to stay there. It's like, all right, I'm going to stay in that place. And the more you try to stay there, the more your residual karma, or the more the story of your script demands that you pay attention to it. And you start to have feelings, and you start to have emotions, and things start to build up. Until finally the raspberry and the honeycomb come together, and you can't find the place where they meet. They're two distinct flavors representing one thing, and you realize that you can't bring them together as one thing. You know it conceptually, but you can't bring them together as the one thing, and you need help to do that. And then whoop, it pops. That was the teaching. These come in chocolate too, so they have milk chocolate covering over the honeycomb. And when you chew them up in your mouth and smush all the flavor in together, it kind of becomes one flavor, and you can't differentiate which is the honeycomb or the chocolate. But with the raspberry ones, the flavors are so diametrically opposed. It doesn't matter how much you chew it up in your mouth, you can still taste both raspberry and honeycomb. And you can't bring that flavoring into the one flavor that you think like it's all one thing in your mouth, but you just can't do it. It's impossible. I thought that was kind of unique and funny, the teaching of the violet crumble. Anyway, that's it. I'm done. I think you guys got anything?
I have a whole bunch of fireworks going off outside of my house. Can you hear them?
What's up with fireworks right now? There's like in LA too. And I'm like, Yom Kippur?
All of a sudden it just went crazy. Well, it's homecoming.
I hear it.
It's homecoming? What does that mean?
What's homecoming?
Oh, so high schools. Oh, because I'm like, why are we doing fireworks?
It's the high school. High schools just came in. It's the high school football game.
Well, that's over where you are. I'm just saying, like, yeah.
Well, if it's going off in your area, it's still. I can't turn.
Graduation
down.
Graduation, I guess.
But this probably is just like graduation. So if there's high schools in your area,
absolutely,
they might be doing the same thing.
I was just wondering why. I was like, seriously?
Like, I can hear them. I can hear them quite.
Yeah, I can hear yours too.
Hold on.
Yeah, mine were going off at noon.
Noon?
My neighborhood is crazy about fireworks. And that's why I was like,
off fireworks. How do you see them in the middle of the day?
They just want firecrackers. It doesn't matter. Any occasion, Mother's Day, fireworks.
Bangers.
Yom
Bangers,
Kippur,
not the
fireworks. Well, I mean, now they'll be seeing stuff, but they don't care. I mean, people in my neighborhood love the illegal fireworks.
Oh yeah, we had parade today. The whole high school got together. They walked down the streets, down to First Street, our 6 blocks of town.
What's your town called, Heidi?
Snohomish.
Snohomish. Is that in Alberta or something, or Canada?
No,
I don't even know where it is.
It's only half an hour from Seattle.
I don't even know where Seattle is, but anyway, Snohomish. SNOW or SNO?
Just SNOHOM.
ISH. I'm going to Google it up.
Yeah, you should. It's a very cute town. River town. It's the only town around.
We have a lot of little.
Else is a suburb.
We have a lot of little bush town. Oh, here's the thing. We have a lot of small towns like that around here because we're in the rural. Our government just announced last week they're going to build a dam out the back of my house here. Well, probably 50 kilometers from my house, but out the back here, they're going to flood the whole valley. And about 100, there's a little town called Netherdale. There's about 150 houses there. They're going to flood it completely underwater. They're going to build a big wall and dam the whole valley. I know. But it's such a beautiful little town. It's full of hippies and just peace-loving people, and there's all flags and rainbows and big green trees, and it's a nice little spot. But anyway, all right, I'm going to have some lunch, apparently. Have fun. I love you guys.
Love you too. Thank you.
I'm glad you let go of all that guilt. That's good. And Tina got her thing sorted.
The start.
Yeah, well, you know, you got to start somewhere. That's how it works. You don't deal with it, don't deal with it, don't deal with it. And it's either going to bottle up and give you a bloody conniption, or you're going to release it. One or the other. But it's just energy. You know what it feels like. Now that you know what it feels like, stay with it. It's like I die daily. Every day I'm looking for my opportunity to let go. Every day I'm looking for, where is it I'm believing in the story? Where is it I think the world is real and that I have to take this all seriously? You know, I'm just learning to laugh. I'm just learning to laugh at myself, at the world, at everything, just letting it all go in a big bit of giggles. Day. All right. Peace.
Thank you.
Oh, Tina, I was going to ask you the thing that you were talking about, tags on the page, on the YouTube page.
Yes, I was really just talking about in this. Click like, subscribe, and share.